headlamp so I can actually see what I'm trying to read. So, I'm going to read a story. I'm going to read a story.
Oh, good, because I'm hungry. I'm getting up to eat.
Okay. Well, then you get up to eat, and I'm going to read a story.
Huh?
This is episode 6 of Fairy Tale, The Money Box. In a nursery where a number of toys laid scattered about, a money box stood on top of a very high wardrobe. It was made of clay in the shape of a pig and had been brought out of the potter. Had been brought of the potter. Brought. Yes. Yes. In the back of the pig was a slit, and this slit had been enlarged with a knife so that dollars or crown pieces might slip through, and, indeed, there were 2 in the box, besides a number of pence. The money pig was stuffed so full that it could no longer rattle, which is the highest state of perfection to which a money pig can attain. There he stood upon the cupboard, high and lofty, looking down upon everything else in the room. He knew very well that he had enough inside him to buy up all the other toys, and this gave him a very good opinion of his own value. The rest thought of this fact also, although they did not express it, for there were so many other things to talk about. A large doll, still handsome, though rather old, for her neck had been mended, lay inside one of the drawers, which was partly open. She called out to the others, "Let us have a game at being men and women. That is something worth playing at." Upon this there was a great uproar. Even the engravings which hung in the frames on the walls turned around in their excitement, and showed that they had a wrong side to them, although they had not least intended to expose themselves in this way, or to object to the game. It was late at night, but as the moon shone through the window, they had light at a cheap rate. And the game was now begun. All were invited to take part in it, even the children's wagon, which certainly belonged to the coarser playthings. "Each has its own value," said the wagon. "We cannot all be noblemen. There must be some to do the work." The money pig was the only one who received a written invitation. He stood so high that they were afraid he would not accept a verbal message. But in his reply he said if he had to take a part, he must enjoy the sport for his own home. They were to arrange for him to do so, and so they did. The little toy theater was therefore put upon in such a way that the money pig could look directly onto it. Some wanted to begin with a comedy and afterwards have a tea party and a discussion of mental improvement, but they commenced with the latter first. The rocking horse spoke of training and races, the wagon of railways and steam power, for these subjects belonged to each other's profession, and it was right they should talk of them. The clock talked politics, tick, tick, tick. He professed to know what was the time of day, but there was a whisper that he did not go correctly. The bamboo cane stood by, looking stiff and proud. He was vain in his brass ferule and silver top, and on the sofa lay 2 worked cushions, pretty but stupid. When the play at the little theater began, the rest sat and looked on. They were requested to applaud and stamp or crack when they felt gratified with what they saw, but the riding whip said he never cracked for old people, only for the young who were not yet married. "I crack for everybody," said the cracker. The cracker. Hold on. Who? When the play at the little theater began, the rest sat and looked on. They were requested to applaud and stamp, or crack when they felt gratified with what they saw. But the riding whip said he never cracked for old people, only for the young who were not yet married. I crack for everybody, said the cracker. That's an odd sentence. Yes, and make fine noise you make, through the audience as the play went on. It was not worth much, but it was very well played, and all the characters turned their paintings side to the audience, for they were made only to be seen on one side. The acting was wonderful, excepting that sometimes they came out beyond the lamps, because the wires were a little too long. The doll whose neck had been darned was so excited that the place in her neck burst, and the money pig declared he must do something, for one of the players had all pleased him so much. So he made up his mind to remember one of them in his will, as the one to be buried with him in his family vault whenever that evening should happen. They all enjoyed the comedy so much that they gave up all thoughts of a tea party and only carried out their idea of intellectual amusement, which they called playing at men and women. The toys philosophizing about being humans. Brilliant, I say. Brilliant. There was nothing wrong about it, for it was only play. Was it really only play? All the while, each one thought most of himself, or of what the money pig would be thinking. His thoughts were on, as he supposed, a very distant time of making his will, and of his burial, and of when it might all come to pass. Certainly sooner than he expected, for all at once down came from the top of the press, fell on the ground, and was broken to pieces. Then the pennies hopped and danced about in the most amusing manner. The money pig shan't be rebuilt. That's not in the story. Then the pennies hopped about, danced about in the most amusing manner. The little ones twirled round like tops, and the large ones rolled away as far as they could, especially one great silver crown piece, who had often to go out into the world, and now he had his wish as well as all the rest of the money. The pieces of the money pig were thrown into a dustbin, and the next day there stood a new money pig on the cupboard, but it had not a farthing in it inside yet, and therefore, like the old one, it could not rattle. This was the beginning with him, and we will make it the end of our story. The money box. Toys playing at humans. Toy Story, huh? Well, Toy Story. Toy Story. Oh yeah, I read the Storks previous, and me and the Storks did not get along. I did not. My brain couldn't even attach to that story, so it's gone. The money box, though, that was pretty neat. It felt like it ended abruptly, though. Yeah, it felt like it ended abruptly. But so be it. Good evening.